Now, your top story, Democrat Joe Biden's election victory over United States President Donald Trump has been welcomed by leaders across the globe. The South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa, has congratulated Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. He said on his official Twitter account that he looks forward to working with them to strengthen the ties between South Africa and the United States. The President-elect has declared victory in front of a crowd of supporters in his hometown of Wilmington in Pennsylvania. Biden's wins in the battleground states of Pennsylvania, Michigan and Wisconsin took him past the 270 electoral votes needed to win. His declaration of victory comes with some states still to declare results after 5 days of vote counting. In a similar speech to that of his running mate, Biden promised to be a president for all Americans, including the 70 million people who voted to re-elect Donald Trump.
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation, 74 million. What I must admit has surprised me tonight. We're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow, bring a better day. And I'm humbled by the trust and confidence you placed in me. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify. Who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States.
Well, Biden was introduced by his running mate, U.S. Senator Kamala Harris, who will be the first woman, the first black American, and the first American of Asian descent to serve as vice president.
And when our very democracy was on the ballot in this election, with the very soul of America at stake, and the world watching, you ushered in a new day for America. To our campaign staff and volunteers, this extraordinary team, thank you for bringing more people than ever before into the democratic process. And for making this victory possible. To the poll workers and election officials across our country who have worked tirelessly to make sure every vote is counted, our nation owes you a debt of gratitude. You have protected the integrity of our democracy. And to the American people who make up our beautiful country, thank you for turning out in record numbers to make your voices heard. And I know times have been challenging, especially the last several months. The grief, sorrow, and pain, the worries and the struggles. But we have also witnessed your courage, your resilience, and the generosity of your spirit. For 4 years, you marched and organized for equality and justice, for our lives and for our planet. And then you voted.
Meanwhile, the United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson has congratulated Joe Biden on his election win. He said he looked forward to working closely with the new president-elect once he takes office. From the UK, John Berver sent us this report.
In the UK, there has been widespread congratulations for Joe Biden. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been largely silent up until now, very much focusing on domestic issues. A second coronavirus national lockdown came into effect earlier this week. But shortly after the race was called, the Prime Minister shared his congratulations on Twitter. He referred to the US as the UK's most important ally and that he looks forward to working closely together, highlighting climate change, trade and security as three key issues. Boris
Say Michigan, but maybe even
criticised for being too close to Donald Trump. Some critics arguing that he remained too unwavering in his support, even at times of controversy. But the Prime Minister obviously decided that the race being called was the perfect time to publicly congratulate Joe Biden and start trying to build on that new relationship. The opposition leader here, Labour's Sir Keir Starmer, also joined in the congratulations. He also made a point of highlighting Kamala Harris as being elected Vice President, the first woman of colour to take that role, and said Americans had voted for a better, more optimistic future. Among the general public, the overwhelming feeling here is that people are glad to see the back of President Trump. A recent YouGov poll found that 74% of those questioned had a negative opinion of him. One final person worth mentioning is the pro-Brexit politician Nigel Farage, who appeared at a campaign event for Donald Trump last week. He proudly claimed to have put a £10,000 bet, that's around 13,000 US dollars, on Donald Trump winning the election. It would appear that he has now lost that bet. John Beaver, SABC News, near London.
Scenes of jubilation across the United States greeted the news that Joe Biden defeated President Donald Trump in the presidential election, while the incumbent continued to fume on Twitter with unsubstantiated claims about how he'd been cheated. That did little to quell the excitement as people celebrated his demise as the only president in the last 24 years to serve only one term. Hundreds gathered in groups across cities from Los Angeles to New York, outside the White House, in Philadelphia, Chicago and elsewhere, to celebrate the election of the oldest person in the United States history to win the country's highest office and the first female in Kamala Harris ever elected to serve as vice president. Sherwin Brass-Peace was out with the crowds in New York City.
I'm witnessing democracy and the people's choice, so that obviously means a lot as a South African that the people have spoken.
Trump is out of the White House, first and foremost, and that Biden and Kamala will make things right, you know, and also Kamala is the first black female vice president. She's also Jamaican, she's also Indian, and she represents the diversity of America right now.
What have the last 4 years actually felt like to you?
You know, when he first won, I actually laughed. I mean, I knew we were in for a roller coaster ride, but, you know, I'm not laughing now. You know, like, this has been a nightmare, you know, and I'm just so happy it is over because, you know, and I hope he doesn't fight this. You know, I hope he just sees how happy people are that we want him gone and he just leaves gracefully, just leave.
I'm just, you know, pleased to see that the president's going to be gone soon.
This win was so needed.
Yeah.
It was badly, badly needed. The world is a better place without this person. The fact that so many people voted for Trump, the fact that House seats were lost and the Senate wasn't, you know, still undecided is a little cause for concern, but there's work to be done.
Joe Biden just happened to get more votes, but Donald Trump still did get more votes than he got last time. So it's still very concerning. But I guess I'm happy that Joe Biden did better, but it's still concerning that there's still this many Americans that support someone like that.
It's a relief to all of us. It's an amazing day. My daughter is half Indian, and I love that she can see a woman in power in our country who looks like her, and it's just the future is going to be so much better than the last 4 years has been.
So happy to see New York City's alive. Everyone's like, it's like a rebirth. This is a great day for New York, for America, for the world.
How do you feel about the election result?
I'm very happy. I'm very happy. I'm hoping change will come and undo what Trump did. It really hurts my heart, especially with everything going on in America, because it's like, I was born and raised here, but I always feel hated here, even by the most powerful person in the country.
Let's cross now to Nick Harper in Wilmington, Delaware. Now, Nick, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
When I spoke to you last night, the streets of Wilmington, Delaware, which is the hometown of President-elect Joe Biden, were relatively quiet as opposed to other cities across the United States where we saw scenes of jubilation. How is the situation now?
Yeah, there's been incredible scenes of jubilation here in Wilmington, Delaware this evening. A couple of hours ago, that speech, about a mile from where we're currently speaking to you from, is where Joe Biden gave his speech. We're in downtown Wilmington. It's much quieter here, but we have had people passing by, honking their horns just a mile away where that speech was given. There was incredible scenes. Several hundred cars were filling up a parking lot there in a socially distanced drive-in event, coming to watch the president-elect give his speech, and then surrounding them outside of the security perimeter there were hundreds more people who'd been gathering throughout the day. We were down there earlier in the day ahead of the speech speaking to some of those people, and many of them spoke about this idea that it was going to be night and day, a real difference between President Donald Trump and President Joe Biden, that they felt the country would be in a very different position. They also talked about Kamala Harris, some of the people we spoke to, the idea that she, being the first woman of color as vice president, was going to be an incredible role model for many black women and girls throughout the United States. And the other people that we spoke to also talked about this idea not just of unity but healing. They felt that Joe Biden is a person who genuinely cares about people, cares about his country, and has that empathy at a time that many people feel it is so desperately needed, at a time when we've seen division politically across America, but also at a time when the country is struggling as the worst affected country from COVID-19, when more than 9 million people have been infected, more than 230,000 people have died. All of them were down there to celebrate this man and to celebrate the victory for the Democratic Party, but also they felt for the country.
Now, speaking of healing and unifying the country, and that's pretty much what everybody in the United States expected after the tumultuous 4-year leadership of President Donald Trump. We heard President-elect Joe Biden also saying the same thing, that he will unify America, that he will be a president for all American. And in that victory speech, there was some sort of resemblance to what Barack Obama said in his victory speech back in 2008 when he said that there is no blue state, there's no red state, but there is the United States of America. Surely it does, he's postured as a leader who will be providing leadership in terms of uniting the country. Now, back to Kamala Harris. This election was particularly so important because it was an election of first. The most votes cast in an election, and the first black vice president, the first black woman vice president, and the first black American of Asian descent. What do you make of that?
Absolutely incredible. She represents so many firsts for the country, as you just mentioned. And she will therefore be held up as a role model for very many people, for women, for black Americans, for communities of color, for Asian Americans. She is in this incredible position of power, and she is very much aware of that. She spent time paying tribute to all of the women that she said had spent a huge amount of time, decades, she said, fighting and sacrificing so much for the equality that she was now able to enjoy. She also talked about her mother of Indian descent who came here to the United States when she was just 19, saying how her mother could probably never imagine this moment. She has now sadly passed away about 10 years ago, but she said that her mother believed so deeply in an America where this type of thing was possible, where you could have a woman of color as the vice president of the United States. She made that speech in a very impassioned way to pay tribute to her mother, but to also pay tribute to the young women, to the young girls out there, to the communities of color who are looking at her and realizing that it is possible in America to rise to that type of level of position.
All right, Nick Harper, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your update. We appreciate your time. Nick Harper there from Wilmington in Delaware, which is the hometown of President-elect Joe Biden, speaking to us live from Delaware.